Hi guys, are you planning a trip to Seoul? Then I will be your local guide. So let's get started. So, whether you're a first time traveler to Seoul or if you're a regular here and just like a local, I'll still give you a little basics on what to know before traveling to Seoul. From trendy spots to hidden gems, this video will have it all, and it's not going to be like go to Insadong, go to Myeongdong. It'll be more of like a local zillennial type of video, so stay tuned. So let's get into it. Welcome to Korea. So now that you've landed, you are probably in Incheon International Airport. What? I thought you were going to Seoul. Why are you in Incheon? Well, Incheon International Airport is the main international hub, and it's located around like 45 minutes from Seoul. It's a city right next to Seoul. So, in order for you to actually enjoy the Seoul travels, you have to get from Incheon to Seoul. And how are we going to do that? You've got options. You can either take the AREX or you can take the bus, limousine, or you can take a taxi. I would suggest for you to take AREX. AREX is the Airport Express, basically, and it takes around like 45 minutes and it's super fast. And you can go from International Airport to Hongdae or even Seoul Station. But I probably think that since you're a Zillennial, you're gonna be located near somewhere in Hongdae. So I would say take the AREX. If you've got lots of luggage or if you want to kick back and enjoy the scenery, then I would suggest for you to take the limousine bus. Or if you have too much luggage and you would rather prefer taking a taxi, then I would say go for that as well. However, please do be aware that depending upon the traffic conditions, it might be bad. So the taxis in Seoul aren't that cheap. So keep that in mind. As for the taxis, you can literally just walk outside and there will be people that'll tell you to get into their taxi. If you want to take a taxi, then I would suggest for you to either use Uber. Yes, the Uber app still works in Korea, but it's sort of different from the States because it's not just a regular car that's going to be here, but it's going to be like a taxi, but connected to Uber. Or there's always Kakao T, but like I said before, unless you want to download a new app, then Uber works fine. And I personally use Uber, so once you're in the city, or before you actually are in the city, you can buy a T-Money card. A T-Money card is literally just a transportation card, and you can just pre-charge it with cash, and then you can use it either on the bus, on the subway, at convenience stores, on taxis, basically anywhere. But side note that not lots of Koreans use T-Money these days because it's already in their like credit cards or debit cards or whatever. But for foreigners, it'll be hard for you to get a credit card or, whatever because you might be just visiting. So make sure you get a T-Money card. And most places still accept T-Money cards without any problem. So it's going to be a lifesaver. Seoul has probably the best and most efficient public transportation systems in the world. I swear. I'm not kidding. But in order for you to use that transportation well, it is easier for you to use a T-Money card because subways and buses can be transferred without paying extra money. Well, you don't have to pay like too much. I think it's around like 100 won, which is like 10 cents. So that's cheap and you get to transfer. But if you have a T-Money, then it's possible for you to transfer. If not, then you have to buy a single ticket every time, which might be a hassle. So I would say get a T-Money card. As for taxis, depending on the traffic conditions, you might be actually more late because of the traffic conditions. I would say since traffic conditions can get crazy if it's rush hour or whatever, I would say just take the subway because it's always on time and rarely does it have any delays. And it's the most reliant, to be honest. Now, talking about the must see places of Seoul, oh my god, I have so many that I want to tell you about, but I will give you a mix of like traditional and modern and all the hot places that you want to be. Starting out strong with Gyeongbokgung, also called Gyeongbok Palace. So Gyeongbokgung is the biggest and it's the most iconic palace in Seoul. It is touristy, but it's the perfect spot for you to get the picture that you want because it has a lot of history, but then there's a lot of like nature, there's a lot of city, and there's lots of modernity in it as well. If you want to go to Gyeongbokgung, then I would suggest for you to get a rental hanbok. Hanbok is the traditional clothing of Koreans, and if you wear that, then your admission fee is free. So that's a total plus. There are many hanbok rental places in Korea nearby Gyeongbokgung, and lots of places now offer English services as well, and they can also do your hair, and you can choose from a variety of different designs. But I actually did this rental thing in Gyeongbokgung, and I did like a whole photo shoot, and it was done by Bebe, which I totally recommend. So I'll have their link down below. This is not sponsored, of course. And there's also a changing of the guard ceremony, and you can have a real taste of the Korean tradition here. Now, for the more youngsters, I would say go to Hongdae. So, Hongdae is like the place to be because it's considered like the hippest place in Seoul. Hongdae is actually short for Hongik University. Dae is 대학교 and 대학교 is university, but Hongik University is an actual university. But the reason why it's more of like an artsy and very like hip place is because this university is most famous and popular for its art majors. So that's why Hongdae is considered the place to be. And there are lots of street art, live music, cool cafes, and like a very hustling and bustling like street vibes. And you'll find lots of cool clubs and bars and drinking places as well as shopping. And you can see lots of people going around, not just tourists, but actual Koreans as well. So if you want a more epic view of the whole city, then I would say go to Namsan Tower, Namsan and Seoul Tower. If you want to get like a view of the Seoul night sky, then I would totally say go to Seoul Tower at night because that's when everything lights up. And you can also lock your love padlock on the fences as well. And I think it's a very touristy thing. But then again, even as a Korean, I enjoy going to Damsan at times because it's very relaxing and you can see the whole view of Seoul from a distance. A very touristy place that I would also recommend for you to go is Myeongdong. So Myeongdong is like the shopping and street food district. I'm pretty sure you're fond of it because you've seen it on TikTok, you've seen it on YouTube, you've seen it everywhere. But Myeongdong is a must, basically. So there's tons of K-beauty, K-food, K-culture, K whatever. And Myeongdong is literally the place to be because it's not only just a touristy place, but there are lots of international brands. There are lots of Korean brands. There are lots of Korean street food. There's lots of like, there's basically anything and everything at Myeongdong. And many hotels are also located here as well. But as for the street food, this is a pro tip, but for the Myeongdong street food, it's a tourist trap basically because it can be a bit expensive. So I would say go to either Lotte department store or Shinsegae department store and go to their B floor, their basement floor. And there are tons of food there as well. And most of them are the street food that you are looking for, including tteokbokki, hotdog, omuk, and etc. And you can also sit down at those places as well, rather than just eating the food in the streets. Although, that too is also a vibe, but it's more clean if you're into that kind of thing. And since it is a department store, it will be more of like yeah, if you know what I'm saying. Now, moving on to the most important part of your trip, food, duh. I'm pretty sure you've heard that Seoul is like the place to be for foodies and for food lovers because in Seoul, everything is good. Like the food is really good. And here are some things that you can't miss. Starting off strong with Korean barbecue. Here we usually call this a samgyeopsal place, which is pork belly place. You can literally go to any place that sells samgyeopsal and it'll be good. Grilling your own meat at your own table usually is a common practice among Koreans, but these days, fun fact about this is although tourists think it's fun and, it's an experience to grill your own meat, Koreans on the other hand go to places in which they don't have to cook it, but like rather the workers or the staff at the place cooks it for them in front of them. So I know it's a bit different, but still. Other than samgyeopsal, you can also have bulgogi, which is like marinated beef, or kalbi, which is a thicker type of marinated beef. You can wrap it in lettuce with garlic, chili, a little bit of sauce, and it's literal heaven. So make sure you grab some Korean barbecue. On to the next, which is probably the most important, is kimchi. If you're in Korea and you haven't had kimchi, then why are you in Korea? I'm just kidding, but Koreans love kimchi and they take pride in their kimchi. Kimchi comes in many different types of fermented vegetables, but the most common is cabbage. I know it may, look very frightening at first because it's very red, but it's not as spicy and it's a fundamental part of every Korean's table. So why not try a piece? Also, if you're a kimchi lover and if you want extras, then don't forget to ask for more because kimchi is always refillable and mostly at no cost. So, another classic food of Koreans is bibimbap. Bibimbap is mixed rice with vegetables and beef or chicken, it depends. And there's also a fried egg, and it's also mixed in with sesame oil and gochujang. And it's basically a very simple but very delicious type of meal. So I would say try the bibimbap. Also, if you're taking Korean Air, make sure you have the bibimbap because oh my god, the Korean Air's bibimbap is literally the best and it's like a Korean's favorite. So even Koreans are obsessed with the Korean Air bibimbap, so make sure you have your choice of Korean Air bibimbap. As for other Korean foods, I'm pretty sure you're fond of other like Korean foods as well, but something that I recommend is to try kalguksu. Kalguksu is literally just like noodles, but the warm broth of kalguksu with the noodles together it just hits different. Another favorite of mine is kimbap. I'm pretty sure you all know kimbap because of the Trader Joe's like frozen kimbap. But have you ever had kimbap in real life? Because it hits different. And you don't have kimbap just regularly, you have kimbap with ramen. Because if you have ramen, then you know the soup? If you dip your kimbap into the soup of the ramen, then oh my god, it's going to be a whole different level. And not only does it end there, but if you add in a tteokbokki as well to the meal, so ramen, kimbap, and tteokbokki together is literally like paradise. So don't knock it till you try it. Seoul is full of places, like I mentioned before, but if you're more of like the zillennials that are going to find places that are more hip and trendy, then I would suggest for you to go to Garosukil. So Garosukil is one of the coolest streets in Shinsadong in Gangnam. And for reference, Gangnam is like the rich, like Beverly Hills of Seoul. And it's lined with trendy cafes, boutiques, and stylish restaurants. And there are lots of shops that sell makeup, Korean fashion brands, and etc. It's a must visit for those who love aesthetic lives. And at night, lots of drinking places open as well. So if you're into the drinking culture, then you can also go there as well. And like I said before, Gangnam is considered like the rich part of Seoul. So, of course, there are hot people there as well. So, it's good for your eyes as well. Iksan-dong is also a great place for you to visit if you want to escape the big crowds and find some unique cafes and cute looking hidden gems. Iksan-dong is the place to be because it has lots of cafes, restaurants, and boutiques that sell little quirky stuff. It's more of like a traditional Hanok house. Hanok is a traditional Korean house name, but it's traditional Hanok house, but add in more of a modern twist. And it's great for photos, and all of like the trendy hip people in Korea go there. So of course, you're going to see a lot of stylish people there as well. And if you just go a bit further into Iksan-dong, then there are lots of authentic local food places as well. And that I would totally suggest for you to try. Another popular place that a lot of people are going to is DDP, which is short for Dongdaemun Design Plaza. It's more of a futuristic looking landmark, and it's relatively new. It's an architectural like landmark, and Seoul Fashion Week also takes place there. But there's always something going on there, whether it's an art exhibition, a art project, or whatever. And there's also like a lot of shopping malls nearby and inside as well. And there are, of course, good food places there as well. So I would say, why not visit DDP? Located right next to DDP is Dongdaemun, and Dongdaemun also offers great shopping, and it's very local, but make sure you bring cash because the street food here is really good. Make sure you try the sausages and the hot dogs, aka the corn dogs, because it's so good, and a lot of like the OG like corn dogs started near Dongdaemun. Before you go to Seoul, make sure you download these apps. Google Maps does not work in Korea, and even if a place is pop-in on Naver or other places on Google Maps, it's gonna look like it's abandoned, so Google Maps does not work. If you're gonna navigate around, Kakao Map is the best for directions because it's the most updated and it will give you the actual directions. Do not trust Google Maps because it's gonna be very wonky in Korea, basically. Another must download app is Kakao Talk. Well, you don't have to, but if you are going to stay in Korea for more than a week, then I would suggest for you to download Kakao Talk. So this is the number one and basically the only messaging app in Korea that is used. If somebody that is Korean says that they do not use Kakao Talk, they are lying or they're hiding something. So beware of that person. Line, WhatsApp, and other stuff are all used as sides. And Kakao Talk is the only messaging app in Korea. And you cannot have a social life without Kakao Talk. So you can use it to chat with locals, friends, or even book restaurants or like book stuff as well. So Seoul has lots of Wi-Fi, free open Wi-Fi, even in the streets, subways, and restaurants and whatnot. However, make sure you grab a eSIM or a SIM card or even rent a portable Wi-Fi device because it'll make your life so much easier. However, like I said before, even if you have a low like SIM card that has less data, do not worry because Korean Wi-Fi is quite fast and it's basically available for free anywhere. However, I would still say grab a SIM card or a eSIM, and I'll also have the links down below to make your life easier. ATMs in Korea generally are safe, and most international cards work at ATMs. ATMs are widely available either at banks, convenience stores, at the airport, or even in the streets. But it's always handy to have some Korean won in cash for small purchases, especially for markets, street vendors, and etc. Now, since we don't want to be the ugly tourist, of course, we need to talk about the etiquette and the culture of Koreans. Koreans really value respect, especially towards the elderly and the older people. And there's even a honorifics in the language that respects the elderly. And even when you say hi or greet an elderly, we bow. Instead of saying 안녕하세요, we say 안녕하세요. So a small bow is a respectful gesture that goes a long way. So even if you are a tourist and if you're going to say hi, why not just bow your head a little bit? It might seem silly at first, but the elders will totally appreciate it. So if you're visiting someone's house, then make sure you take your shoes off. It doesn't matter if you are wearing socks or not, but just taking your shoes off is the most important thing. And some traditional spots like temples and some traditional restaurants that require you to sit on the floor also require you to take your shoes off. But don't worry about your shoes getting stolen because no one wants to take your stinky shoes anyway. As for table manners, in Korea, usually you do not ask for the waiter or the server to come to you, but usually there's a bell on the table and you just press that and somebody will come to take your order or whatever. And as for spoons, chopsticks, and stuff, look at the side of the table and if there is a drawer, then there are like chopsticks, spoons, and stuff inside. There's even napkins inside as well, so that's very convenient. As for forks, they might not be available at the restaurant, but if you can, you should ask because if you need it, then you need to eat. So, as for other stuff that people do not tell you, Seoul has basically clean water, and for the tap water, you can actually drink the tap water, and it's called arisu. But if you're a bit reluctant on drinking the arisu, aka the tap water, then you can just buy your water at a convenience store or at a mart. And for taking a shower, for brushing your teeth, for washing your face, it's okay. You can just use the tap water because you won't have any like breakouts or whatever. Because the water system in Seoul is basically clean compared to many other countries. As for Korean people themselves, I am part of the younger generation, so seeing a tourist or a foreigner in the street is not that shocking to me, but still for the older generation, they might still think that it's weird that Korea is a place to visit because Korea did have a history of the war and being poor. So for them to see tourists in Korea is sort of weird. Due to the pandemic, they didn't see a lot of foreigners. But staring does not mean that they hate you. It's not a form of discrimination. They just think it's, wow, a foreigner, that's cool. So they're just interested. They're not judging you. Well, they might be judging you, but they don't hate you. So please don't be offended if a Korean elderly looks at you and gives you like a judgmental type of look. Deep inside, they're very warm. So I know I don't want to say this disclaimer, but I just feel like I have to because people, my friends, especially when they come to Seoul, always feel like they're being judged or they're being stared at. But I'm sorry about that. I apologize. But it's just, they're interested in you. That's why. And it's just out of interest. So please don't be offended. As for speaking to someone in English, they might say they're bad at English at first, but then they will understand and they will have no problem in communicating with you. But it's just a Korean thing. It's an Asian thing, I think. And they can speak English, they can communicate in English. However, they're just afraid. They're shy about it. So that's why. So don't be like, why are they speaking English but not, communicating with me? Do they hate me? Is it discrimination? Don't take it that way, please. It's just like, it's an in it part of thing, It's like they just think it's very, unless it's perfect English, that they can't speak English when in fact they can. So I'm sorry about that. I apologize for that. Also, Korea is a very quiet, not very quiet, but it's relatively quiet. So on public transportation like buses and subways, please make sure that you don't speak loudly or else people will stare at you and will be like cursing in their heads. So in order for you to not be an ugly tourist, then that I think is an essential. So filming other people in public is illegal in Korea because people have pictorial rights, I think it's called. And if you film somebody else that is Korean and you post it on the internet, then they can sue you. So please be careful of that. Seoul is also a very safe place for women and for just people in general. There are no guns. And the crime rate is quite low compared to other cities. However, since it is a big city, make sure you watch out for pickpockets, don't get anything lost. But it's Korea and it's so everybody is busy already that if somebody loses something, like it's on the street, then I'm pretty sure if you go back, it's going to be still there, unless it's like cash, of course. And there's a huge trust system within the Korean society and in Seoul as well. So even if you put like your cell phone on the table, nobody's going to take it. And I'm pretty sure that Korea is already famous for that kind of stuff. So you don't really have to worry about getting stuff stolen. Although I'm not saying that there is a 0% crime rate in that. So that's a wrap on my Seoul tips and travels for the younger generation. So I hope I had some interesting insights and I had some informative information. And if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to write them down in the comments and let me know what kind of videos you want to see. And I can also make more videos showing hidden gems in Seoul as well. So thank you for watching and please make sure to like this video and subscribe. Thank you.